We have a very large crowd today. I hope everybody has found a seat either in this main room or in the three overflow rooms. I think we can handle around 5,400. And historically, 62%, or just about exactly 62% every year of the people who request tickets have come to the meeting. And if that percentage holds true today, we have just filled the rooms, and we will have a problem in the future, which we haven't figured out the answer to yet, but we've got another year. The way we'll run the meeting is that we'll get the business out of the way at the start, and we'll talk about the Class B issuance then too. So it'll take a little longer than historically has been the case. And then we'll have Q&A for until about noon. We'll have a short break at noon. There'll be sandwiches outside, which you can buy. And Charlie and I will have a couple of sandwiches up here at the podium, and then we will stay around until about 3 o'clock to answer more questions. And at that time, afternoon, I'm sure everybody in the overflow rooms will be able to find a seat here in the main room. But people have come from great distances to attend this meeting, so we really want to give everyone a chance to get their questions asked. And Charlie and I are delighted we'll have to break it up at 3 no matter what, but we'll be delighted to stick around. You can leave any time, obviously. As I've explained in the past, it's much better form to leave while Charlie is talking. But feel free to do that. And then at noon, you'll get a chance to do it en masse. We have buses available to take you to, if you have any money left at all after yesterday, to take you to other business establishments of Berkshire locally. So that will be the plan. I hope everyone does get their questions answered. We've got a system where we break this room into 6 zones, and we have a couple of zones in other rooms. And then this afternoon, everybody will be able to be here in the main room. So that is the procedure. I'm sure you recognize Charlie Munger, the vice chairman of Berkshire Hathaway, who also I had not seen that movie before, and showed. I think Mark was afraid to show it to us, but in any event, we will go on. I thought you might be interested. This is a list of people that came in for tickets, and we had, in addition to 99 from Canada, and of course the U.S., we had Australia, the Channel Islands, England, Greece, Hong Kong, Israel, Portugal, Puerto Rico, Singapore, Sweden, and Switzerland. I'm not sure all of those people are with us today, but they did send for tickets, and I've met a number that did come in from a distance. So with that introduction, I will call the meeting to order. I'm Warren Buffett, Chairman of the Board of Directors, and I do welcome you to this meeting. I hope everybody has a good time this weekend. And I'd like to introduce the directors in addition to myself and to Charlie. Now, you don't get quite your money's worth this year from our directors. Collectively, they've lost 100 pounds since our last meeting. I think they've been trying to live on the directors' fees. And to redesignate the company's current common stock as Class A common stock, and to make each share of Class A common stock convertible into 30 shares of the new Class B stock at the option of the holder. I think before we get into moving that motion, I think this would be a good time to have a discussion and take your questions regarding the issuance of the Class B. And I should give you a little background. I think many of you know the background on this, but over the years we've had probably half a dozen people, one time or another, propose that the creation of an all Berkshire investment company or unit trust. In other words, an entity that would hold nothing but Berkshire stock, and then would parcel out its own shares in smaller denomination pieces to the public. And we have generally discouraged that because we felt that there was considerable potential for abuse in such an arrangement. And our discouragement has been successful up until last fall, when there were two proposals that went as far as submission to the SEC for clearance that involved unit trusts, and these unit trusts would have owned nothing but Berkshire shares and then been sold to the public in small denominations, probably with a minimum investment of around $1,000 or so. And holders of those trusts would have bought into an entity that had a defined life, but that had considerable in the way of costs and some tax consequences that they might not anticipate when they came in. And Charlie and I were worried that a combination of Berkshire's past record, which cannot be repeated, and high sales commissions and a low denomination and a lot of publicity about Berkshire and myself, which, as you've seen this morning, we attempt to discourage, a great many people would end up buying these unit trust holdings without any idea really of what they were buying, and with unrealistic expectations as to the future, and that would in turn create a considerable demand, because these unit trusts would go out and buy Berkshire shares. That would create a considerable demand against a fixed supply, much of which is almost unavailable because people have a low tax basis and are reluctant to sell, and I hope they're reluctant to sell for other reasons. And that the very action of the creation of these and that push on the demand might very well create some speculative spurt in the stock, which in turn would induce people who had been approached about the trust to feel they were missing even more of a good thing by rushing in. Rising prices in certain kinds of markets create their own kind of demand. It's not a sustained demand, and it's a demand that the reversal of which later on, when people become disillusioned, can cause a lot of problems. But that potential was there with the flood of buyers with unrealistic expectations, high commissions, and a fixed supply. So we attempted to dissuade both of the promoters. One backed away and then came out a few months later with something that was a combination of Berkshire and some other securities which were at least thought to be in our portfolio. And we started hearing from people that it was clear had no understanding of what they were buying, or the costs involved, or the potential tax implications, or anything of the sort. So at that time we had to make a decision, and we had to make it rather quickly, as to what would be the best solution to this problem that in turn wouldn't create the same sort of thing that we felt had potential harm when being done by these promoters. Obviously, we considered a split of the stock, but we were worried that a split would send out signals to all kinds of people who want to believe in things that may not be too believable about future performance, and that they would look at it as some grand chance to buy in at a lower price. Of course, it wouldn't really be a lower price in relation to value, but it would be a lower denomination. And that, again, against a fixed supply, might very well have created the same kind of problem, maybe even a greater problem than would occur with the unit trust. So we came upon the idea of the Class B shares, which would create a supply that would match the demand for, in effect, split shares, and that would be offered in a way that did not create special inducements, or to create false inducements to people thinking of buying. And one of the things we did was we stuck a commission on it, on the issuance of the Class B shares, that was about as low as any I've ever seen in many years in Wall Street, because we did not want salespeople to have a great inducement to go out and sell the shares. We wanted anyone that was interested to read the prospectus and think about it and make their own decisions. And we did another thing which is quite counter to the normal commercial approach, which is that we said we would issue as many shares as people wanted to buy. And you do much better in this world if you're selling something to say only one to a customer, and you have to get in early, or you have to know somebody in order to get shares. And that's many new issues are sold that way. And it's very effective. I mean, it's like those old stories about in Russia where there'd be lines and people would get in them without knowing what they were going to buy when they got to the front of the line. And that's a very effective selling tool. And it's one that Wall Street is not unfamiliar with. But we decided that to reduce any of that feeling that you have to get in early or only the big guy's going to get it or something of the sort, that we would announce loud and clearly that we would have shares available for everyone that wanted. So there was no reason to assume that it couldn't be a hot stock in effect. And we've done various other things. So our hope is that the Class B shareholders that we attract are of the same quality as the people in this room, that they have an investment attitude that where they feel they are buying into part of a business, that they expect to stay with it for the indefinite future, maybe the rest of their lives, and they do not think of it as a little piece of paper that may be hot because it's a new issue or something of the sort. And it lets the people who are happy with the present shares stay in exactly the same position, which is what I'm going to do, what Charlie will do. We have made the B very slightly disadvantageous in two respects to the A. It has a lower vote, and it will not participate in the shareholder contributions programs. There were reasons for both of those, but in addition to the explicit reasons, there also is the desire that the B not be made fully. It's just a slight bit inferior, but it's not fully as attractive as the A, because we did not want to do anything that pushed everybody into converting into the B. If that started in a big way, the B would then enjoy the better market, and it would create its own dynamic where it made sense for everybody to do it. So we have left it so there is no reason for you, if you own the A, to convert to the B, unless you wish to sell or give away some portion of your holding that would be less than a full A share. And it will be convenient for that reason, but beyond that, there should be no incentive. If the B should trade slightly above 1/30th of the price of the A, there will be arbitrage activity that will keep that from being anything other than a negligible amount. It, of course, could trade well below 1/30th because the B is not convertible into the A. Charlie, would you like to add anything before we start taking questions on this? And
No.
I encourage everyone to ask. Charlie, as you will note during the meeting, does not get paid by the word. But I encourage anyone to ask any question. There are no bad questions about this. I mean, last year we talked about a preferred issue, and people had very valid questions. I might take those 2 points of difference between the A and B just to start with. On the shareholder designated contributions program, which was $12 a share last year, in addition to wanting the A to have a very small edge over the B, which would be a reason for not having the B participate, it also would get very impractical in terms of taking $12 and dividing it by 30 and soliciting the names of charities and to designate contributions. We can handle the present program fairly efficiently, but we would not want to be sending out checks for $1 or $2, and it would get very inefficient. So we have told prospective B holders that that's not going to happen, and so they're fully informed coming in. In connection with the vote, the issuance of the B does create more votes outstanding. So absent any change in the situation, through the issuance of shares, which we are not particularly eager to issue, the vote, my vote, will be diluted somewhat by this, and frankly, I had no desire to create a lot more shares, which would dilute the vote of the Buffett family. It will be diluted somewhat by this action because we will have all the present votes outstanding plus some votes from the B. If there is a lot of conversion to the B, it is true that our holding will go up percentage-wise, but I see no reason why people really should convert, so I don't think that's likely. I think in the end it'll stay very much the same. And as I mentioned earlier, we want there to be a slight disadvantage to the B. In all other respects, we will treat the B just as the A. We have a problem with numbers at this annual meeting. We're going to have to do something next year, and we haven't figured it out yet either. But the suggestion was made by someone that maybe the B would get second-class seating or something. We're not going to have any of that. From this point forward, with the exception of the two things we put in the prospectus, the B shares will be treated in every way as equivalent to A. So with that, and with Charlie's reluctance to elaborate, we have a 6-zone system in here. It just goes right around clockwise. Just raise your hand and somebody will bring a microphone to you.
I'm Marshall Patton from Bandera, Texas. And when the price is struck on the Class B shares, those of us who buy our shares through computer programs, do we have assurance that whoever we buy from, that will be the price that we pay for these shares?
Yeah, the price, there'll be a price established probably Wednesday night or thereabouts of this week, and everybody will pay the same price, and a very high percentage of that price, incidentally, will come to Berkshire. I mean, there's a very, very low underwriting spread compared to any other offering. Now, once the initial offering is, everybody will pay the same price. Large institutions, the buyer of one share will pay the same price. Subsequently, the stock we expect will be listed on the New York Stock Exchange probably Thursday morning, and we have the world's greatest specialist here, I believe, Jimmy McGuire, who handles the trading now of the common and will handle the trading of both the A and B. Jimmy, are you here? You want to stand up? Just so. There he is, the world's greatest specialist, Jimmy McGuire.
Okay, thanks.
I think he leads the singing of "Wait Till the Sun Shines," Nellie, too, annually. You can see him on CNBC occasionally, and the Nightly Business Report. I want to give equal time here. But Jimmy will be trading both classes of stock starting Thursday. As I said, it will be impossible after the first few days. It would be impossible for the B to sell much above 1/30th of the A, because people would buy the A and sell the B if more than a very small, with even the smallest of arbitrage differentials. But there will be markets in two shares and in two classes. They will both trade in 10-share lots. That will be the round lot, so-called round lot. Usually the round lot on the New York Stock Exchange is 100 shares, but in the case of both Berkshire shares, the round lot will be 10 shares. Now, I read one or two press accounts that said, therefore, the minimum purchase is 10 shares. That's not true. The minimum purchase of each stock, each class of stock, is 1 share. I mean, you can buy 1 share or 2 shares, or you can sell 1 share or 2 shares, and you have an odd lot differential, just as you would if you were working with less than 100 shares of a company whose stock traded in 100-share round lots. But there's no minimum size in the case of either share. And you will see, when they get the mechanics straightened out, and they may have a little trouble with it, but you will see Berkshire A and Berkshire B and quoted in the papers, and I think that it'll be quite clear after Thursday what is going on that. I don't know about the computer purchases, but I don't certainly in terms of the initial offering, that will be through one of, I think, 137 people or brokers in the selling group, and it's the same no matter who you deal with. Zone 2.
My name is David Hendel. I'm from Boca Raton, Florida. To your knowledge, will this program effectively discourage the unit trusts?
Well, it's certainly designed to, and I think the answer to that is yes, because I see no way that a unit trust, either in connection with the initial offering or with the subsequent trading, I see no way that a unit trust could offer people as an efficient and inexpensive way of participating in Berkshire as direct purchase of the B. Bear in mind that the unit trust, if a unit trust were established, it would have to buy Berkshire shares in the market. So it would have the costs that people have in buying shares, and then on top of it, it would superimpose these other costs. And in addition to the initial commission, they even had a valuation fee. That was a job I wanted to have, because every 3 months or however often, maybe every day, their job was to evaluate this trust value, which involved the